To succeed in entertainment, you have to put in long hours and years of hard work to develop your talents and hone your voice. Or you can just steal a bunch of other people's shit and hope that you don't get caught. Here are the top 10 celebrities who did get caught ripping off other artists on today's episode of Rankworthy, the show where we rank just about everything. Gabriel Piccolo is one of the hottest illustrators on Instagram. He has millions of followers, legions of fans, and has been hired to draw multiple entries into DC Comics' new YA book line, DC Inc. Well, back in 2018, the beloved indie illustrator had to deal with Chris Brown. Yeah, that Chris Brown. The Chris Brown, the abuser, the awful person, and someone that the mainstream seems to have just completely forgiven for his heinous previous actions. The ones we're focusing on today is when he stole Piccolo's illustration of the Teen Titans and altered the diner's signage they're standing in front of to say Black Pyramid. What's Black Pyramid? It's Brown's apparel line. Despite multiple attempts at contact, Brown ignored all requests to properly credit the artist, but eventually did take down the post. Coldplay is one of the most famous bands in the world. Or rather, Chris Martin is one of the most famous musicians in the world. Can you actually name any of the other members in Coldplay? We'll wait. Yeah, we thought so. However, all that fame didn't stop Steve Satriani, a very famous guitar player, from suing Coldplay over plagiarism. He claimed that they ripped off the melody from his song, If I Could Fly, for their hit song, Viva La Vida. Ultimately, the lawsuit was dismissed, but that didn't stop 3 other bands from filing lawsuits against Coldplay over the same song. Where there's this much smoke, is there actually fire? Or just a bunch of bitter musicians trying to get a payday? A down-on-his-luck former criminal is hired to go into a demilitarized zone and rescue a member of the government. That's a pretty concise way to summarize John Carpenter's Escape from New York. It's also how you could describe the Luc Besson movie Lockout from 2012. In fact, the films are so similar that John Carpenter sued the production company behind Lockout for plagiarism and won. Yes, that's right. He actually won. He was awarded roughly 450,000 euros, and that's a pretty nice chunk of change. This one is a little different because it's not just a celebrity ripping off an artist, it's a massive fashion brand ripping off an indie artist. Tuesday Basson is an illustrator and designer who runs her own apparel company. This one is pretty cut and dry. Zara ripped her off and started selling pins and patches that were essentially just her pins. Don't believe us? How about looking at some of the evidence? Yeah, pretty shocking, right? She eventually got Zara to do absolutely nothing. Zara rejected her claims that they stole anything and kept selling the pins. Shame on you, Zara. Shame on you. Chuck Berry is one of the progenitors of rock and roll, and as such, he influenced a lot of people. And then there's the Beach Boys. They took rock, brought it to the shores of California, and basically single-handedly popularized surf rock. Or maybe they just ripped off Chuck Berry. Well, it turns out both things are true. Berry sued them for plagiarism over the song Surfin' USA, which he claimed was a blatant swipe at his song Sweet Little 16. And in a shocking turn of events, he actually won the case. He was awarded a percentage stake in all of the proceeds of Surfin' USA for the rest of time, which is, a rare win. Good for Chuck. The Terminator is the film that launched James Cameron's career. He wrote and directed the sci-fi time travel epic that has spawned 5 sequels, a TV show, numerous video games, novels, and comics. It also provided the bedrock for him to be able to build one of the most successful careers in film history. That is, if it was his original idea. Acclaimed author Harlan Ellison sued Cameron in 1984 because he claimed that Cameron ripped off his story. Repent Harlequin, said the TikTok man. Did he? Well, the U.S. justice system seemed to think so, which is why all future printings of The Terminator have a title card over the end credits that read, "With acknowledgement to Harlan Ellison." Ian Fleming is the writer behind the iconic James Bond series of novels, which of course later were adapted into the longest-running film series ever. The series was produced by Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman. But before the film franchise took off, Fleming was approached by another producer, Kevin McClory. He suggested the team up and write an original story to launch Bond's film franchise debut. They did, and then nothing happened. Flash forward a decade. Fleming used their screenplay as the basis for the novel Thunderball, which then got adapted into a film. Here's where things get even crazier. McClory sued Fleming for the rights of Thunderball, not just for the book, which was based on their joint screenplay, but the underlying character of James Bond, and won. The judge granted him the ability to remake Thunderball as many times as he wanted, which is exactly what he did, with Sean Connery in Never Say Never Again, so, this one is like a Mobius strip of people ripping each other off. Sometimes Melania Trump seems like she might be unhappy. Melania's speechwriters seem like they might be unhappy too, or at least lazy. Melania's Republican National Convention speech was completely ripped off from Michelle Obama. Each speech has a section where the First Ladies discuss civic duty, responsibility, and intergenerational growth. Some of the sentences are nearly word-for-word swipes, so, not a good look for you, Mrs. 45. Drake is undeniably the biggest rapper in the world. He's got more #1 singles than the Beatles, and he's got the means to take on Star Wars, Game of Thrones, and The Walking Dead. But apparently, that's not enough for October's very own. Back in 2018, Drake released Scary Hours, a 2-song EP with God's Plan and Diplomatic Immunity on it. The album artwork, however, strikingly similar to Rabbit's 2015 Communion tour poster. You'd almost say it was stolen. After a sizable internet kerfuffle, it was revealed that Drake did not commission the artwork and that the design firm that did presented it fully formed. However, it still remains the artwork that's used across all platforms, which sucks. Taylor Swift's 1989 is a contemporary pop classic at this point, with singles everyone can sing to an iconic album cover. T Swift's pop makeover is here to stay. Well, until there's a massive backlash over her for, stealing other people's work. Ali Bouguer, a New Orleans-based artist, had her drawing of a fox taken by Miss Swift, who inscribed lyrics from her I Know Places song and then posted it with an altered signature. After repeatedly asking for accreditation, she got no response. And then 4 days later, the photo was quietly deleted because, that's easier than just giving someone credit for their work. Foul, Miss Taylor Swift. That's all for now. Check back next time to find out what else is Rankworthy.